Yeah. So the tree shows us these pillars, right? Uh, if you get on Masonic stuff, they'll say Yakin and Boaz. We can pass all that stuff and conspiracies and just look at it like left and right, masculine and feminine. We can look at it like giving and receiving. Well, we can look at it like severity and mercy. Now, this is what the tarot shows us too. The tarot, like if you pick up a tarot card, especially a number card, it doesn't just show you what the energies are in that, say, for instance, Gabora, right? Which is the fifth sphere on the tree of life on the pillar of severity. So all of the fives in the tarot correspond to it. So if you stay that far on the right and you're severe all the time, you're unbalanced. You're an asshole. You're just hurting people. You're a destructive person. You destroy. If you stay merciful all the time on the left, then evil stands unchecked. You become a doormat and you let evil run amok, right? So the middle path is the middle way to understand the balance of both of these. So when you pick up sixes in the tarot, it's going to show you that. It's going to show you the balancing of those energies. Same thing with splendor and victory, or Netzach and Ho, the green and the orange one. If you stay in Venus all the time, you're a hedonist. Nature will spread things like STDs and all kinds of stuff, right? But this is pleasure too. Pleasure is a great thing. It's in nature. It's meant to be there. Same thing on the other side. That's emotions and love, and the other side is intellect and logic and knowledge. And so this is a system to where we can put all of these gods and myths and everything into these spheres, right? We can put all these different gods and systems and mythologies and everything into these spheres. And the middle path shows us the balance between the two, which is the fastest way to transcendence, right? So you have the foundation, which is the astral realm or the moon that kind of traps our consciousness here on earth, which is why it shows you Malkuth so far down, separated at the bottom of the tree, like it's kind of way down there. So we have to deal with these lunar energies, or our unconscious or the subconscious, the things that are our psyche, like I said, the things that are trapping us. Once we get into that, then we start to transcend the ego, which is the yellow one in the middle, the solar energy, right? And then once we get past that, we're basically understanding that we're one with everything. Now, once you understand it intellectually, why practice it? Well, if you're not shooting fireballs out of your ass, right? Like if you're not manifesting stuff instantly, then you're really not one with God, are you? Regardless if you're on this earth or not. Think about it for a while. You'll see that I'm right. You're so far removed from it. And what happens is you just intellectually understand it. So therefore you think you're spiritual. You think that you've transcended it. So we can go all over this tree. But if we're any of these, like say we're experiencing something in our life where we're in Gedula, where it says mercy, or just said, right? And we're a giver. And we experience in this lifetime all of this giving. We empathize and we give everything of our hearts and our life to people. And yet the other pillar comes in and tramples all over us and causes us suffering, So we come back, reincarnate in a lifetime, and we become assholes. And astrology will show you this too with your north and south nodes too. These energies also reside in this tree, which is why I love the system. But we do this, we're assholes. We'll never get taken advantage of again. So we become all consuming and destructive and whatever. And yet we hurt people. Right. So we go the tree in the system of magic, which is the elements, which is what those four elements are down there in the bottom sphere of understanding the four elements. We transcend our consciousness into alchemy, which is the solar work. And we have a chance to do the Christ-like work, make up for all this stuff, transcend ourselves, treat other people the way we want to be treated, which is the middle path. In one lifetime, if we can just understand all these energies, we can alchemize and do this, hopefully, in one lifetime. And the idea is, whether you believe it or not, but doesn't matter. But the idea is that you experience this on such a deep level that you have both wisdom and understanding. You have both mercy and severity. You have both victory and splendor. You've experienced the I am of I am, which is glory, which is the Rocky story, and and you've alchemized all that energy. And then after that, brother, I couldn't tell you what happens. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Right. But I know a lot of it has to do it was just with love. Like, the mystery of love is the greatest mystery. A guy that won the Nobel Prize said that. He was beating his brain up trying to understand everything. And he realized that love was the greatest mystery. But that is why I use the tree, because I need a system, but I'm also very kind of romantic guy. So I like all these different spiritual systems. I'm not hooked on just one, and they all fall into that tree very well. So I use it for a system of conscious exploration and energetic transformation. That's it. I don't look at it as like it's the flux capacitor of time travel or it's the ultimate reality and there's nothing else that's true. I don't look at anything like that, you know.
Yeah, dude, that's great. No, I just made a note of when that is, and I'm putting it in the chat too, because I think people are going to probably want to replay that a little bit.
Yeah, and
Right here.
all of the 22 paths between the Sephra are experiencing from going one energy to the next. So when we have, say, path number 8, the path between severity and mercy. So when we are going through something, understanding the balance of those two energies, we're on that path. So in magic, they call this a path working. So you would draw the tarot card that corresponds with that path, and then you would go into a meditation, and all of the symbols as you travel from Sephira to Sephira, all of the energies of those two Sephira would be in that path working so that your psyche could understand it. That's one form of magical working, how you practically work with the tree, right? Another form would be, let's say, for instance, I want to understand action. I need to understand why I don't take action. I need help with that. So you could go to therapy and say, tell your therapist is going to write a bunch of notes, give you some pills, whatever. Or you could invoke that pillar, all the God names, all the angels, all the caste systems, every egregore that is corresponded with severity. Bring it into your being, invoke it, become it, or evoke it. Put it outside the circle and observe it and study it, right? Like, this is a way to bring things into your being in a whole different kind of way that the unconscious can work with, if that makes sense.
Mm.
Like, the unconscious loves symbols. It loves these things. To me, this is a way to communicate with the spirits. One thing to understand metaphysics, but I want to communicate with it. And I've found out that this is a way. This is a way to communicate with spirit. And it's not like it's ultimate reality. I think it's like a co-creative thing. It's almost like spirit's like, I understand what you're doing. Millions and millions of years of creation and all your God systems that we created together. I think I know what you're doing. Right. And then it'll kind of have you experience something else. And here you are back and forth playing this testing thing with the spirit, trying to communicate with it, trying to understand this, what the Hebrews called Eheye, which is I am that I am. You know, it's a working with the spirit all the time. They don't just say that in the story just to make it all powerful. It means something, you know.
Yeah, that's great, man. This is a good question here. How does one discern where upon the tree they may currently be traversing? Very nice
Well,
vocabulary as well.
that's cool. So what you can do is in magic, they developed a system of symbols, right? So first you observe, like say you're in a path working, you're in a visionary, right? And you see the god Ares, or you see swords or whatever. You know, you can say, well, I'm in the sphere of severity. Or you see lots of red things or fire. But another thing that you do is that you can test spirits with sigils. And this is kind of more advanced stuff. But later you learn, because you start out tracing the pentagrams and all this stuff. But later you learn, when you're astral traveling, you can trace symbols of planets. You can trace symbols of different things. And these entities will trace them back. Or they'll do certain like forms to let you know they're legitimate. Right. So that's how you test spirits, but it's through the symbolism of what you're observing if you know where you're at. So if you're getting a bunch of mixed chaotic things, right? Say, for instance, you're getting leopards, but you're also getting tigers and all this other stuff, right? You're in a blended of energies, which is normal reality. Most of the time when we dream, we're in blended energies and things like that. To get to a sphere of energy, we have to do a working to focus our energy to actually experience it, because we always just experience the chaos of all these energies anyways. So once we see the things that correspond with that sphere, then we know that we're there. For instance, I'll use severity because it's easy. We see war, we see fire, we see things that relate to Mars, we see action, we see things that are severe. We might even see violent things. It's kind of scary a little bit, but what I'm saying is the more symbolism you're seeing, the more you know you're there. Does that make sense? Even colors. I know some people don't see in color when they're dreaming or astral traveling or whatever you're doing, but colors are an energy unto themselves. They're not just something our eyes see. They have an actual frequency. They're energy too.
Wow.
No,
that makes a lot of sense.
And you'll hear this in theosophy because they'll talk about the rays, right? The green ray, the red ray, but they figured out that there is an energy to these colors too.
Yeah. It would make sense. Everything is symbolic, all of it.
Yeah, man. And what I mean to say is, in order for your brain to really focus on an energy, you have to, once you actually try to do a path working and say, I'm going to scry into the sphere of Gabura, you'll notice just how chaotic your psyche is and how hard it is to focus into that energy itself. That's why you start out meditating every day, breathing exercises every day, doing a ritual every single day, so that you can focus the mind and experience the full force of these energies later in your magical journey.